and it identifies, exactly what pipe materials can be used, what methods of laying the pipes, of joining them, those sorts of things. And all these are listed by South East Water, and that's the only thing that construction companies are allowed to use. This is something we want to share with our partners in Cambodia. Hopefully, if we can adopt similar methods, we can help with some of the leaks that they might be experiencing in the system. Another part of this is a water quality specification. So during that construction process, there's a separate component that just focuses on the water quality. So it means all new water mains must be swabbed. So you can see on the screen, that's a foam, we call it a foam swab, and that gets pushed through the new main and cleans the main. So before the water's even turned on to the customers, we start with the cleaning asset. Part of that's also chlorinating large mains, so anything 225 and above is chlorinated prior to being put into supply. So again, that just ensures that the asset is clean, free of any contamination, and it's also tested as well. So a number of water quality tests are conducted in the new main and in the existing main, and they have to be comparable just to prove that the new asset isn't contaminating the supply. We also have a GIS, so a mapping system. For South East Water, this is crucial. So we can log on, we can look up any asset, and we can basically see what offset it is, where it is, where the valves are, where the hydrants are, so just to operate the system. And you can also see from that, this links back to the previous slides in terms of we specify where the valves are. So we have to have valves at offtakes. We have to have a hydrant in between valves. So if we shut the water main down, we can flush it to clean it before we put it back into supply. So there's a lot of things here that, it's a massive leap, but this is what we do. It's just stock standard. So we're hoping over time we can start introducing a few of these things, and they can over time just become second nature. Dial before you dig is, I think, from what we said today, I think Telstra or the telecommunications have a similar system. So if you're going to dig up for your water main, you have to check where the where the power is, so you don't damage it. We have the same thing, but for water. So anyone that wants to dig up a road or dig up anything, they have to actually call South East Water, and we tell them where the assets are. And that way if they do damage the assets, we can actually charge them. So it's a massive leap for the Cambodian water authorities, but again, it's something to just aim for in the future, and it just would be ideal if we could get something like that. Asset marking has been probably the biggest interest we've had from our three partners. At South East Water, we use marker posts, as you can see there, and that identifies where our hydrants are and valves. But the main thing we're looking at introducing in the short term with our partners is this marker tape. So at South East Water, we lay it above the water main, so maybe 250 mil above the water main. So if someone's digging, they hit the marker tape and they know that there's an asset underneath, and hopefully will stop digging. We also can have it produced with a wire in it, tracer wire, so this will potentially help future assets that are going to be put in the ground to be able to identify them and trace them easily. So I guess the biggest hurdle is going to be getting that message out to the rest of the industry. So if they hit the tape, they actually do know what it is. They don't just think it's a bit of rubbish and turf it aside and keep digging. So it's going to be a two-staged approach. It will be getting the marker tape in the ground and then getting it out to industry. wider knowledge of what it is and why they need to stop digging when they hit it. I guess one of the issues is we can look at things going forward, such as the marker tape, but there's a lot of assets in the ground that PE and the water authorities we're working with don't know where they are. How do you find them? There's no technology out there that can trace or find polyethylene pipes in the ground. So we've had a little bit of fun using a bit of old school technology, which is these divining rods. They're just a metal rod and two little rods there, and they turn in when you're above water. So it's hit and miss, but we've had a fair bit of hit with it, and yeah, the water authorities are very keen, and as you can see, you can even train up your kids to do it, and that can be a nice weekend activity for the family. So the second part is non-revenue water, which I think all the water utilities will be sharing the same concerns. So leaks aren't found until someone calls it in. So I think they are called in a fair bit, but yeah, I guess the minor leaks might not be, or they're not called in because you're not aware of it. And if you don't know where your pipes are, it makes it even harder to find. And the water companies we've been working with currently don't have any methods for identifying these leaks, so we've come up with quite a few different ideas and methods, and I guess try to work through what's going to work best for each one. So at two of our partners, we've installed flow meters. So we, as part of last week, the team came over and installed them on the outlet of the treatment plant. And this is used to provide a real-time trend of the flow coming out of the plant. It calculates it 24 hours a day, and the intention is overnight, when everyone's in bed asleep, the flow will drop down. What's going to happen if you get a leak or a burst is overnight that flow is going to stay up. So it's going to flag that there's a potential issue and a potential leak in the system. And you can look at it every day and find out what's happening. So at South East Water, we have this system across, so that's our supply area there, and we have a number of hydraulic zones or distribution zones, and we run this report every night, and it will just tell us whether the system's okay, or if that nighttime flow has increased, then we need to investigate further. This is an example. You can see the trend, and it's a diurnal day, night, and then it picks up, and you can see, so it's not just the night, the whole trend shifts up a magnitude of whatever your leak is. So obviously the more data you have, the easier it is to identify the leak, and in this one it was a clear leak, as you could see the shift on day and night flows. So we've installed one flow meter at Crouch Marr, and this is just a snapshot of what we've got so far. And again, you can see very clearly there, the night times dropped right down. So that was a great start. We have had a bit of an unusual occurrence, so it has picked up now already, which we're still trying to identify what the cause of this is, because you can see here that night time has actually picked up. So because we've just installed it, we haven't got that nice long trend to be able to see what's happening. So I think it's just going to have to be a little bit more time to find out what's actually happening in the system. We've also installed one at Compon Long, and we've got the same results in terms of that nighttime flow dropping off. So far it's looking positive. We also brought over with us an acoustic amplifier. So you basically prod the ground. You can either put it on top of the ground if you've got concrete plants, or you can just put a stake into the ground and it just amplifies. So it basically does as it sounds. It amplifies whatever noise you've got in the ground. So the idea is if you have a leak, it's going to make a noise as it's coming through that pipe. So depending on your pipe material, obviously if you have a metallic pipe, it makes a lot louder noise. But even with PE pipe, it will still make a noise as it's escaping through. So it's very manual because you have to actually try and physically identify where it is, but it is something that's a possibility, and there's a bit of interest at this stage. But yeah, it's a matter of, is this the right technology, or do we just stick to simpler options? So we went out with each of the teams and conducted leakage tests, which is basically, as you can see here, you shut down an area, so you close your valves, isolate it to a particular area, and then you can just, this is one method, you can attach from say a hydrant to hydrant or a meter to meter, and you can actually put a meter on there and see if there's flow going in. So the intention is if you've shut all the houses off within your block and you still have flow going through, it's not going into the houses, it must be coming out of the pipe. So it's a very simple test, and yeah, one option. The other option is this is what we did. So we actually just did a pressure test. So the exact same principle as what I just said. Shut your valves down, close off the stop taps to all the properties, and just put a pressure gauge at a customer meter. And the intention is if everything's holding and there's no leaks, the pressure is going to hold the same in the system. You might have a slight drop if there is some stop taps letting through, but the intention is the pressure will mainly hold as it is. If the pressure drops suddenly, again it's going to tell you have a leak, so then you have to try and find where it is. One of the things we found during our investigations with Kratchma, they actually have bulk meters into these subzones already. So it's, instead of having to go out and run these tests for leaks or pressure drops, you can just do on a regular basis a mass balance. So you've got your house properties, you know how much water usage they're having. If you're reading your bulk meter as well that supplies this area, it's just a matter of doing a balance to say, does this much match this much? If not, then that's another potential issue. So there are a few different ways to address the same issue, and we're slowly working with them on all these ideas.